Oh, it's working.
Live.
Okay, nice.
Okay. Hello, everyone. So welcome to our roundtable discussion, which is we're taking it national. Thank you, MAFA, for hosting. And this is really exciting because we have representatives from the different student umbrella organizations, Fil-Am student organizations across not just the country, but also like across North America with our folks up in Canada, which is really exciting. And so we're just going to do a quick roll call to see who's here. So if folks could just shout out where you're from and your name and what organization you're representing. Also, I don't know if I introduced myself. I'm Sarah Day. I'm not representing an org, just here to facilitate.
I guess we can just go through down the line of the names listed in the doc. My name is Summer Love Jalarbal. I'm currently the president of MAFA, which stands for the Midwest Association of Filipino Americans. Yeah, and I represent the Midwest, but I'm originally from Southern California.
I'll just guess I'll go next. My name is Randall Tran. I'm representing the Midwest through MAFA, the Midwest Association of Filipino Americans. I am currently VPE.
Hi, everyone. My name is Camille Magante. I'm a fourth-year student at Cal State Dominguez Hills. I am chairperson of Southern California Filipinx American Student Alliance, also known as SCPASA. Wait, what else did we have to say? Was it just that? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, okay. Sorry.
Hey, everyone. My name is Kevin Suarez. I'm a fifth year at San Jose State University, economics major. And I am currently the finance chair for NCPASA, Northern California Filipinx American Student Association.
All right, you can't see my face, but hey everyone, my name is Janelle Mendoza. I'm currently the president of the Filipino Student Association at York University, and also the Filipino Canadian Student Associations, representing all the FSAs and the Philippine youth in Canada.
Hello, everyone. My name is Dee Alaric Ojeda. You can just call me Dee for short. I'm from San Jose, but I came up to, I went down to SoCal to UC Irvine. I graduated with a bachelor's of chemistry, and then I went to Pasadena City College, and there I joined the Filipino club there called Tropa, and I'm currently the co-president, and I'm also in the dental hygiene program at Pasadena City College, and now I'm also the vice chairperson of SCPASA.
Cool. Good evening, everybody. My name is Andrew Esmole. I'm based out of Washington, D.C. Currently a student at George Mason University. I am the former chairperson of FIND, which is the Filipino Intercollegiate Dialogue Incorporated. We span everywhere from Boston down to Miami.
Yeah. Wait, mine.
Oh, Myron, did you go?
Hi, everyone. My name is Myron Vanya. I'm from Vallejo, California, but I go to Seattle University. I'm a Secretary of Public Relations and Outreach at the Northwest Filipino American Student Association, but just call it NWFASA.
Cool. Welcome, everyone. So super excited to have you all join us today. I just want to do a quick acknowledgement of Filipino American History Month, which we are closing out now, the month of October. And FONS, the Filipino American National Historic Society, has a theme this year of turning points, because 2018 marks the 120th anniversary of the Declaration of Independence of the Philippines from Spain in 1898, also the same year as the Spanish-American War. And then also this is the 50th anniversary of the establishment of ethnic studies at SF State University, UC Berkeley, UC Davis, among others, which is the result of student protests in which Filipino Americans played a pretty significant role. So we want to definitely make sure that we're calling in that history as well. And I think these organizations are definitely a testament to that history. And then let's jump right into our first section of questions. So let's get to know a little bit about where folks are coming from. How did you get involved with your regional organizations, and why do you stay involved? And anyone can take this one.
I'll take this one, actually. My name is Randall Tran. Most of you guys know that I'm not Filipino whatsoever. Long history, story short, both my parents are from Vietnam and they're both half. They don't speak a drop of English. They were actually through a refugee process through the Philippines in Bataan. So despite living in the Philippines for so long, you have to learn Tagalog as well. So my parents both can, my mom actually can have a conversation with, in Tagalog, and then they refugee back to the US. But yes, and then I guess because all my friends were all Filipino growing up, majority of them were, and they all spoke Kampapangan or Tagalog, but mostly Kampapangan. I was exposed to the culture 24/7 all my whole life, and my friends' family were always talk to me in Tagalog as well. And then I figured, like, this culture has been with me for such a long time that's part of me as well. Then I was introduced into PSA at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. I loved it so much to the point where it was like a family. And then when I got introduced at MFAS about MAFA, I took it to the next. This was something more that
Oh, you cut off towards the end. Can you repeat that last portion after you said you joined PSA?
Oh, so I joined PSA at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign here in the Midwest. I'm from Chicago, by the way. So going away to school was like, going away from home.
Oh no, you keep cutting off, Randall.
Oh, he just froze.
Yeah.
I'll call him to see.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, does anyone want to kind of build off of what Randall said?
I'll go ahead. I started getting involved my first year of college. So throughout high school, I wasn't growing up, I wasn't surrounded by Filipinos. I was surrounded by, Caucasian and Hispanic. So I didn't really have a Filipino community besides my family. But when I went to college at Cal State Dominguez Hills, there wasn't a Filipino club. So I was actually dragged to my first Filipino club meeting at Cal State Long Beach, Filipino American Coalition, known as PAC. And there, I got a bit culture shock just because I've never seen so many Filipinos my age in one area. So I was like, wow, how come I don't have this at my school? So me and a friend decided to create Pagsikapan, a Filipino American student community at Cal State Dominguez Hills. And we wanted to create a space for Filipinos there because there were a large population of Filipinos, but a lot of them went home and went to school and then went back home. They didn't really stay on campus because Dominguez Hills is a very commuter campus. So no one really stays, not too many people dorm. As I wanted to externalize with other organizations just to learn how we can grow as a very young new organization, I started to externalize with nearby Cal State's UCs and private schools. So I actually reached out to Cal Poly Pomona's Barcata, UCLA Samahang Filipino, and Cal State Long Beach PAC to learn from their board, and I looked up to them. And so I became more involved that way, started to get involved in community organizations in the city of Carson, which celebrates Filipino American History Month all month long with back-to-back events every single weekend. And so I got involved that way. With involvement with SCPASA, a lot of individuals from different organizations started to recognize me and see me as like that first year who seemed to be kind of everywhere and seemed really eager to know more. And so my first and second year of college, I started to build a network with other students. And then my third year of college, I became programming director of SCPASA, which is creating all the collaborations, which are workshops. I helped promote and build topics, discussions, and workshops for our annual summit. And we just do a lot of different types of events throughout the year. And so, you know, building off of that, I wanted to contribute more to my community. And a lot of my peers nominated me as chairperson for SCPASA. So now I'm here for you guys and speaking with y'all in this great space.
I go next. So I'm the opposite from Camille. Vallejo, California is like predominantly Filipino. So all my friends were Filipino growing up. And then when I went to college, I was 17 because I graduated a year early, and I was really young. I didn't know a lot about the new area I was in, but I was the only brown kid in the room, and that was the first time I had a conversation with a white person. So I felt a very culture shock and like, holy crap, like where am I? But I was dragged into Seattle University's United Filipino Club, and there I became the new student representative. And as months went on, I just put myself out there. I was being very social and trying to engage a lot with the youth around Seattle, whether it be through like high school programming and stuff like that. And then fortunately, I was nominated onto the executive board as a freshman. So that was pretty good feeling to have. And I kind of just stayed on because it's the only place where I can feel that I'm not being judged, or I'm not feeling like looked down upon, or I don't feel like I have to work twice as hard to pair up to everyone else because we're all at the same level. And yeah, just keeping it short.
Okay. So like Myron, I also grew up in a pretty big Filipino community. Oxnard is really, because of the bases, Oxnard has a lot of Filipinos, but growing up, it was actually not really an external community issue because I think Oxnard's great and we're very multicultural and really supportive of that, and we celebrate that. But it actually came from my family, who told not directly, but they would like make fun of me when I like tried to learn Tagalog, and like try to like understand like cultural norms. So I really shied away from Filipino culture growing up because I didn't feel like I was enough for it, if that makes sense. It was kind of disheartening. And then when I came to college, I was already in the mindset that I would be summer and not have like ethnicity or race in particular tied to that at all. But I ended up like joining Barcata, which is our dance group, out of like curiosity and like being so far away from home. Maybe I would be able to like create that connection to my culture without my family's like expectations upon me. And then through Barcata, I got into PSA, which is the Philippine Student Association here. And then I got into MAFA. And what drew me in about MAFA is because coming in from like, how many miles? Like 29 hours like car ride away. Like that's 2,000 miles. 2,000 miles. Sorry, I'm just really nervous right now. But yeah, just meeting new people and hearing new perspectives and like talking about these issues that I've never like had the opportunity to openly speak about. Yeah, just having the opportunity to just meet new people really drew me in. And it just made me realize that even though I was from so far away, I was still able to form a family with people. And, you know, we still grow up with like similar experiences and that I wasn't alone. So, yeah, okay.
Okay, I can go. Okay, let me pull up the questions. So I actually didn't get involved in the Filipinx community until relatively recently. I was part of the NAFA Epic, the inaugural year last year. And only since then did I start getting involved in other nonprofits, like with Lead Filipino in South Bay, in the San Francisco Bay Area region. And I'm actually pretty involved. I have been since last year. Involved with, I've been involved with Lead Filipino, which is a San Jose-based org in Silicon Valley, if you guys don't know. So we're Apple, Google, Facebook, that general region. I'm involved with NCPASA as finance chair, which is a very young organization that only restarted about 2 years ago. And I'm actually back with NAFA as the Epic Year 2 ambassador. So I'm kind of using all of these different organizations I'm in to both leverage kind of the connections, possible mentorships, and resources for all these organizations. And one thing I've noticed about Northern California in particular is we have the second, I'm not sure if you guys know this, but California, the Filipino population is the second largest Asian American community in the entire state. And I actually interned at City Hall in San Jose. It's called the capital of Silicon Valley. And every single district office would have a Vietnamese speaker and a Spanish speaker. And I wish Randall was on the call, he's not on here, but I actually grew up with a lot of Vietnamese folks. So like Vietnamese culture is something I kind of grew up with too, like Filipino culture and then the Vietnamese culture too. We have the largest Vietnamese population outside of Vietnam. So we've always been a pretty diverse region. And I noticed that every single district office on city council would have a Spanish and a Vietnamese speaker, but there was hardly any Filipino representation whatsoever. And I thought to myself, for an Asian American group that has so many Filipinos, we're just not out there putting our faces out there, putting a mark on the city, even though we make a majority or a pretty significant portion of the city. It's kind of different in San Francisco, Daly City, Union City, in those regions. But in my honest opinion, it could be a lot more than where it's at right now. And I feel like I'm involved because I want to change that. I think it kind of takes certain events to let community groups kind of go out there. Every single ethnic group kind of has that event that makes them want to do things. So with the Latino Latinx community, it's Prop 187. With the Vietnamese community, it's the end of the Vietnam War coming over here. I feel like there has to be something that kind of sparks the community to go forward. And from what I've heard from other people that have come before, there was momentum in the 90s and that kind of died out for some reason. So I feel like NorCal is in a particular position where we have a lot of history here. We have Larry Ronald Philip Veracruz. They were out in Central Valley. We have SF State with Third World Liberation Front starting here. We have just such a huge population. Dr. Dawn Mabalan, if you guys don't know her, she was SF State professor, basically started ethnic studies. There's so much that is focused in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I feel like we haven't really done much with NAFA or on the national level of kind of being where we could be at. The possibilities hasn't been the possible results we could do hasn't been reached yet. And I feel that you know, with the right amount of hard work and leadership, we can get at least not just Northern California, but the entire country kind of rolling in a direction where we can make our mark on this country, because I honestly think that we deserve that. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I really like that. I think that actually could lead us into, I'm going to skip ahead to the third box where it says, how is your region structured? Because Kevin talked a lot about sort of what Northern California is looking like. And so I'd love to hear from folks about like your populations, like how is your region structured? What does that look like leadership-wise, or the communities that you're in? Yeah, if anyone wants to sort of share what that looks like to you.
I'll go. So FINE spans from Boston down to Miami. We're split up into different districts. So we have 8 different districts, and they each have their own different executive boards. Some regions have representatives for each school that's involved. Some districts have one representative for a number of schools. And region districts, they span anywhere from having, right now, just one school, all the way down to about 20 to 30 schools in New York. And then different districts are structured differently as well. They run they can run as their own organizations by themselves as well. But there's also a national board. We say national, but we're not national, we're just regional. But there's an executive board that oversees not only the planning of our annual events, but also ensure that we allow organizations stay consistent. So, and with that, I'm actually passing it off to Syra, and I'll be bidding you guys farewell.
Bye, Andrew. Sarah, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, totally. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, sorry. I was on the train and I'm on the bus right now, so you might hear some other stuff going on. Sorry. But hi, so I'm Syra. I'm also, well, the way it works, so as Andrew said, we have a FINE national, quote unquote, national board. And so I am actually a national director Proxy, so I get basically all the same duties as like a national director would be, but I just don't get voting rights until one of them decides to step down. And there's like you said, there's a certain number of national directors per district. So I represent District 3, which is New York City and part of and the northern part of New Jersey. So yeah, that's my title is National Director, District 3 National Director Proxy. And I go to NYU and yep. But I'm also from Chicago, so it's interesting. FINE really encompasses like a lot of different people too. So yeah. Anything else, Sarah? The way your mic's not on.
Sorry, I keep forgetting to turn it back on enough. Okay, so yeah, it's just really thinking through like what does your region structure look like, who are like your members, and like what is the history of your org. So yeah, I think you touched on most of it.
Yeah.
Like yeah, do you know how old FINE is?
I know it's in the 90s. I don't know why it's either 92 or 96, but it was in like the late 90s. But some of our, so even though it's like that was started later, but then some like my school, my specific school's org is older than that. But so yeah, we have a lot of people, we have a lot of like other school orgs under the FIND umbrella.
Me and Dee can talk about how SCPASA is structured. So for SCPASA, we have around 25, almost more than 25, almost more than 30 affiliated organizations in Southern California, with the northest school organization being UC Santa Barbara, Kapitirang Filipino, and then the most southern school being UC San Diego, Kaibigang Filipino. And so how we're structured is SCPASA itself consists of board members, not from directly from chosen from different schools, but we run to be or are nominated to be on board, and we usually just come from different schools, and it's just because we have been known to be involved in our communities. So our board itself, I'm from Cal State Dominguez Hills. We have some from UCI, UC San Diego, Pasadena City College, Cal State LA, Cal State Fullerton, as well as, did I label everyone? Did I get everyone? Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty much everyone from board, but we do have externals that represent their respective organizations. So externals are those one representative from their school that goes to community events usually and go to our workshops and other events that we have. And so we have about 30 externals, but not everyone comes to every single event, but we usually have around 15 to 20 show up to our workshops from their respective organizations, as well as other members from other schools that come. We were founded in 1983 as SCPASA by different schools because they felt a need to connect with one another, right, Dee? It was. Dee can probably speak more about that because he met our father of SCPASA just this past weekend.
Yeah, it was crazy. I went to this event called the Fil-Am Changers, and AJ Raphael was there. There was a lot of really important people who are doing a really big change in the PhilConnects community, and then I found out that the one of the founding fathers of SCPASA was there, and I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I came to this event. I'm so excited. So I went up to him, and he was just telling me how him and a few other people wanted to bring up SCPASA, and yeah, like what Camille said, it started in 1983, and then I found out that there was a community college that was also part of it too, and I'm like, holy crap, I don't even know. And but I'm going to do some more research on that because I want to make sure that hopefully their organization is still active. But he was just telling me that they all came together and they were building SCPASA, and the one thing that they all had in common were dancing. So they had a lot of events that had them perform and all that stuff. But I didn't go into that much detail because I had to go and externalize with everyone else. But I'm definitely going to keep in contact with him and hopefully share his story and whatnot.
So yeah, that was more of our founding father. So Kaba Modern started. Yeah, so Kaba from Kevin. Yeah, Kaba Modern started at UCI Kababayan, which is Dee's school. Thank you, Kevin. But yeah, every single year we have an annual summit, and it's this coming February. We're going to be having our 12th annual summit at UC Irvine. So with that being said, if you guys want to come, let me know. We'll try to accommodate y'all as much as we can. But so let me see what else. But with SCPASA, what we usually do, all our collaborations are workshops that we put for the community, and we have it at different organizations. So our first one we had it at Cal State LA, and we talked about what did we talk about? It was Filipinx identity, and a little bit going into colonial mentality. So we do a variety of different workshops, and we try to talk about topics that are a little bit in a quote unquote taboo, where it's in a space not too many people would like to talk about because one, they either feel comfortable, or two, don't really know too much of the topic. So we like to introduce not necessarily new topics, but we would like to try to introduce these discussions so it's normalized at our communities when we go back to our schools. So yeah.
Sorry guys, I want to talk about
I can
FILCASA
go
for them.
next.
Oh,
I'm
sorry.
just kidding. You can go first.
No,
Now
you
go first.
you wanna
LOL. Oh wait, no, it's okay. Bye.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about FILCASA. Can you guys hear me okay? Yeah. All right. So FILCASA, we kind of just started technically this year, but technically we've been around for since 1990 unofficially. We've been having like just we've had our FSAs in our respective member schools. So we only have 10 or 11 kind of. We currently have 10 or 11 schools participating in FILCASA. So most of them are in Toronto, Canada. We do have some in Montreal and Ottawa, and obviously we're reaching out to like other provinces. But so far, the structure of our organization is just to, because we're kind of just figuring out our stuff right now, we kind of just let our own FSAs do their own thing. But technically, we have two main events every year that we host all together. They're called Super Skills, and we just have our annual formal. But Super Skills is pretty much where we gather. It's kind of hard for us to kind of get together in a way because even though we're all in the same province, like Ontario, transportation is a bit of a issue, especially like, you know, transit is kind of not cheap. So yeah, that's we look forward to Super Skills as it brings all of our schools together, and also it just it's more of a talent show, pretty much. Yeah, and then we collaborate a lot with other external organizations. Like I'm currently a board member of the Philippine Independent State Council, also known as PIDC. We've worked with like Max's Restaurant and a bunch of other organizations across Toronto. But so far with PIDC, we've collaborated with them with like for their events. So this past summer we had Mabuhay Festival, which is annual, and I believe it was like the 22nd year or even more than that. But yeah, so now that we've established our own exec board this year, with me as the president and Chriselle, who's not here right now, as my VPE. We try to get together as much as we can to kind of work more on our structure, but like that's something that we're gonna learn as we go along. But yeah, that's what I want to chime in for FILCASA.
Hi, everyone. So again, my name is Kevin, representing NCPASA. And NCPASA is interesting because there was a similar organization that actually existed in the past. It was called NCPASO. It was this Filipino American student organization, or Northern California Filipino American student organization. They started in 1994 at UC Santa Cruz, and it lasted for about 6 to 7 years, and then for reasons I'm not sure about, died out. Oh, hey Janelle. Janelle's here too, so I can give her the mic. For some reason, it died out in the early 2000s, and it actually only restarted or started to restart around 2014 at NAFA Epic's 2014 conference in Philadelphia. So we had some Northern California reps who went there. They were inspired after attending this conference, and they decided to help restart NCPASA after 14, 15 years. Two of them, or one of them actually works or works with NAFA now. The other one, he's actually from San Diego, but they're able to restart it. And this board is the first official board, first official running board. And I want to pass the mic on to Janelle since she signed on late. So introduce yourself, Janelle.
Hi, everyone. Again, my name is Janelle. I'm the external chairperson for NCPASA. Sorry I'm late, but thank you so much for providing the space tonight. Let's see. We're just going over the entire structure of our respective regional alliances. Awesome. So right now, again, as Kevin has mentioned, we didn't officially establish, meaning like installing our constitution and really creating the formal structure of our alliance until last fall, 2017. And it's been pretty difficult for us or challenging for us to really engage member organizations since, again, we're really new. I think we only have around 13 member orgs. Yeah. Anything else, Kevin?
Yeah, so I guess one of the difficulties, let me read the questions real quick. Our region has a lot of impact in terms of volume, like how many Filipino Americans live here and the history that we've set. San Francisco has kind of been a historical point of entry for our community, daily cities in our region. So we definitely have the amount of people. The problem is with our region, people take that for granted. And I think that's kind of a recurring theme, both in Northern California and Southern California, is why does any of this matter when there are already so many of us here? Everything's fine, everything's safe, you know? Why organize? Everything's cool. And the difficulty that I think our particular region has is kind of maintaining that legacy and getting people to do things beyond the college space and in the wider world after graduation. Another issue that we have is kind of we encompass not just the San Francisco Bay Area, but Central Valley too, including Sacramento. So one thing that Janelle and I and the rest of our board has been focusing on is how do we make sure, like with Canada, I think Jarrell mentioned this earlier, we want to be as fair as possible in making sure that every part of our region kind of has a fair say. So I think we've been doing a pretty good job so far of kind of making sure that everyone's voice is heard, despite, you know, regardless if they live in San Jose, San Francisco, or in UC Davis. And let me read the last question here. We're a very young organization. Like Janelle said, we have 13 member organizations, and each of those organizations are some of them are pretty huge and have a significant impact on their campus. The challenge that we have is how can we mobilize these communities, these student organizations to do something beyond that? And I think that NCPASA is kind of at the forefront of community organizing, of cultural education, of what I think is important is connecting people to, you know, professional networking. And that's kind of been our focus is moving beyond where we're comfortable and moving to a space where we can make a difference. So in that respect, NCPASA is very young, but we have a pretty large vision. And I think Janelle and I both know that it's a tall responsibility, but I think we're pretty happy that we're the ones in charge of doing this, and we hope that whoever comes after us continues the legacy.
I'd like to build off of what Kevin said. So what Kevin did say is pretty true. Like in regards to in NorCal and in SoCal, we do have this problem, I would say. Yeah, it's a problem that a lot of us do take what we have here for granted. You know, for example, the city of LA, San Diego, and as well as like surrounding communities do have events for Filipino American History Month, have events for Rizal Day, have events like Philippine Independence Day, etc. And not too many organizations not saying all, but there are some who do come out and help support, but not too many go out into the professional field and helping do these events and maintaining these events. I personally interned with the city of Carson, which has about a 40% population of Filipinos / Filipino Americans living in that city. And we have back-to-back Filipino American History Month events this past October. And a lot of the concerns that the committee had for these events, a lot of those in the committee were in their 30s, 40s, as well as in their 60s and 70s having these events. And it's like they're trying to get involved, get the youth involved to be in these these events and having them hosted outside of their colleges because it's for the community. And not too many people want to do that because, not saying all, but they have the need that they don't have to, and they don't really go outside of college. Like after college, they don't really want to continue because, they feel as if, oh, we did this in college. Why do I need to do this outside of college or after college as my career? But it's super important for us that, that these events are continuing because, once those people are gone, we're not going to have these events anymore. The reason why the city of Carson has Filipino American History Month events is because we have a councilman on the city of Carson who wants these events. Like it's our 9th annual Lait Leong Day that we've celebrated him. We have a holiday just for him where it's a paid holiday in the city of Carson, and as well as kickoff and etc. So, once he's gone, he's like a Lolo, he's like 75, and he's still on these boards, on the committee advocating for these events. And once he's gone, if no one replaces him or is Filipino to be on as a councilman or councilwoman, we're not going to have any of these events. And we're trying to be here and be as present as possible and pushing our, student orgs, yes, to older folks, what Kevin said, younger people to rep the community, just not at our college, but for our cities and for our local communities. It's a slow process at first, and it takes a lot to get everyone involved over here. People think that in the West, a lot of people are involved, a lot of people seem as we're present, but in reality, not everyone's like that. Not everyone is as is an advocate, not everyone's involved as they should be. And that's the problem that we're facing over here in NorCal and SoCal. We have a large population of Filipino Americans, but not everyone wants to put their part in helping these events continue. So that's just my tea.
Yeah, so it looks like we're naturally transitioning into the question of like, what are the biggest challenges in your region? Thinking through those tensions and major issues that face your community, the needs that you guys have as a region, and then also feel free to respond to challenges that other regions are facing, and maybe the ways that you've tackled it if you've gone through something similar.
Okay, I'll answer the third question. But NWFASA was founded in 1994, so this is our 25th anniversary. And our structure is pretty solid. We have 4 main exec positions, which is SecGen, Sec Communications, Secretary of Finance and Fundraising, Secretary of Public Relations and Outreach, and then we added a new one this year for Secretary of Events and Programming. And then just last year, we also added 4 new leadership positions as our pillar chairs, which is social, political, cultural, and educational. And then we also have a strong alumni network of 10 advisory board members, as well as 5 interns for our organization. So we focus a lot on leadership development, and that's why we opened up about like 16 new positions for people to get involved. And that's one of the biggest strengths that we have, is that a lot of people here find it to be a comfortable size or amount of Filipinos. Like, there isn't too many for someone to feed off the bystander effect where like someone's going to defend for you so you don't have to do anything. It's kind of like there's not enough, so we're going to join. But there's never been a time where there's been too many little Filipinos for someone to not find a community. And every year we have 3 main events. We have Filipino Olympics, which is our version of Friendship Games. FCN, which is like just a talent show that we host. And then our biggest event is Conference, which which is similar to Summit or what most people have. And that's when all organizations come to one school and just have cultural, political, and educational workshops. In Northwest FASA, people are willing to drive 400, 500 miles to see people from different schools. I don't know what that culture started from, but everyone's always down to pick up their bags and leave, which is pretty interesting. One of our weaknesses, though, is that we aren't big on advocacy or social justice. And that's one thing that we've been trying to really program and figure out, how can we really get the word out there, or how can we best educate our members? Because a lot of members in our organization, well, it's kind of like split in between. Like, half of the organization wants to be social, half of us wants to do social justice, and it's hard to find that in between or middle ground where people can best be engaged in both worlds. Am I missing anything? LOL. Our membership is 22 people, so we have 20 collegiate orgs and then 2 activist groups. So we have Anakba in Seattle and Anakba in Portland. So even though we have these advocate groups, a lot of students are being very hard-headed and relentless to listen to what they have to say, which is kind of rude. But yeah, that's it. LOL.
Okay. I'll just go just a basic overview about how MAFA is structured. We have 27 plus organizations spanning 10 states and 2 time zones. And we're growing. We have like new schools that we're helping actually grow their orgs, or start and grow their orgs. So that's really cool and interesting. We also just celebrated our 10th year, 10-year anniversary last Wednesday. So that was really cool. 10 years ago, at FACT, conference within a conference, the first executive board was sworn in. Before that, MAFA kind of existed already, not officially as an organization. It actually was, it started as a concept for a conference called the MAFA Conference, and it was based off of FIND. I'm not exactly sure what conference it was, but it was based off of a conference that FIND hosted. And so the MAFA conference was renamed the Midwest, Midwest Filipino American Summit. And we host that annually. We also host various 2 leadership summits. And then each MAFA school has their own events. So those are also considered MAFA events. FACT is also a MAFA event, but primarily hosted by PSA UIUC. Let's see, what am I missing? We have 9 positions on our executive board. And in the springtime, we have an intern program. I'm not exactly sure what the requirements are for interns, but I've done it in the past. And that's primarily for anyone who wants to like develop leadership skills, whether or not for MAFA board or for their own school's e-board. Let's see. Oh, we also have MAFA reps. It's 1 or 2 reps from each organization. Those are headed by outreach chairs. Outreach chairs also head MA families. So families, it's just our family system, and we meet new people through it. It's more of a social aspect, social network rather than a professional network that you can get from MAFA interns. I don't know. Am I missing anything, Randall?
I could talk about NFAS.
Okay.
Yeah, so adding off what Summer said, thank you for sharing. We also, similar to what Myron and Camille said, and the rest of you guys, if you guys have the same summit. So MAFA, we do have our Midwest Filipino American Summit every year, once a year. It was formerly known as MAFA Conference. Thanks to my sister's sorority sister, who was on board back in 2008. Basically, MAFA Conference was made just for all the Filipino presidents from every Midwest organization came together to basically form this big conference summit so that Midwest Filipino Americans could all, gather around and discuss about basically anything that regards opinion, goals, values, anything that's going around in the Filipinx Americans community. But we have this big event where almost over like 24 schools come together, and over, I will say, about 1,500, 2,000, someone correct me. And people all come together, and we all host these big workshops. There's usually 3 waves, and each wave will be like a group of or different groups of people go to different workshops, and usually our last one will be a big one, and there's usually 2. But this is such a great way for people to MAFA students to talk about their personal opinions, their goals and values, and in order to achieve these goals, they usually focus on explaining intersectionality, or talk about delegates' identity of Filipino Americans, or creating visibility as, what's a minority within the minority. This is also a really big thing for us because, like I would say Kevin said earlier in SF, I guess you guys don't take your resources you guys take it as for granted, but I would say in the Midwest, even though we're so small and the Filipino community is like growing, we just started, we have a lot of pride, and we try to stand where we are and make the best of it, even though we are small. And maybe we don't have the best or a lot of archive or history compared to California. We are building and establish who we are. So,
yeah. In recent years, we've really focused on developing a Midwest Filipino American identity. Many people from the Midwest, the story I hear is that they're like the only Asian person in their high school, or like growing up, and finally in college they're able to really meet people and really explore their culture for the first time. So I would say that the Midwest, like something that we struggle with definitely is having resources, and also finding credible resources, because a lot of things that we see or know, we kind of just like don't really delve into it or like assess its credibility in Filipino culture. That's how like cultural appropriation, for example, develops, right? Let's see what else. I would say, well, it depends. I guess this is a weakness as well, because the Midwest is so vast. Not every student has the resources, time or money to go visit other schools. That's why our rep meetings are held online monthly. And then people are encouraged to go to other MAFA events, but it's mostly to the discretion of their external, who would be the person developing logistics for that organization. At the same time, we've through like these when people can go to these events through MAFA families, through the MAFA intern program, and through like our leadership summits and NFAS especially, we're able to develop a sense of camaraderie that I think is really great. And other people have told me that it's not the same for other regions, or like not as strong as, or what is it? It's very strong compared to other regions. So I don't know if that's true. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, we always have people who are down. Like Randall and I were just down in Ohio to visit someone's PCN. Yeah, I don't know what other things.
I mean, yeah, there's a lot of PCNs, other Filipino PCNs, just to give our support because we are a Midwest organization. And last but not least, if you guys want to come to NFAS, just hit me up, me or Summer up. We could probably give you free housing or somewhat.
April 5th through 7th.
Yeah.
Wow, that
And it's
shameless
be a
plug.
great location. So
Another
Hey, guys.
thing. Oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Oh,
No.
never mind. Never mind.
No, go ahead.
Oh, I was wondering, something that MAFA struggles with is, or has struggled with for the past couple of years, is maintaining nonprofit status. And I was wondering if any of you guys were nonprofits or 501c3s, because I know, like, to keep MAFA going for longer, we need like money to fund things. So I was just wondering, like, if that's something that people struggle with too.
So I did
So-
say. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were the second. Okay, you were first. When after she spoke, so I'll have you.
Okay. So I just wanted to say, like, for FILCASA, we're actually kind of in the same boat regarding finances. That's one of our biggest weaknesses right now. Pretty much, for the past 2 years, so far, what I've like my involvement with FILCASA, so far, all of our finances just comes from sales, pretty much. So that's one of the things that we need to work on as a whole org is we don't have a lot of fundraising, and that's kind of one of our challenges, especially for this year. We kind of, although Super Skills it's usually around like March, and also and our formal is in May. Our challenges, especially from like since the past summer, after we established our first ever e-board, the next discussion was how are we going to. So that was one thing that I kind of wanted to ask you guys, like aside from fundraisers, like what do you guys do? Because we tried the whole tier system, the membership fees. So far, we do have a membership fee, which is only $10 per month, which is realistically is not enough. That's just enough to get us started. But in terms of actually like establishing a whole system and a whole structure of, when it comes to finances, like that's something that I want to learn, so that I can also tell like our next e-board for next year is like, hey, at least we have this established and this is our bank account, stuff like that. So that's pretty much our weakness as an org. But then when it comes to like, in my opinion, one of our strengths is obviously like leadership development. So unlike MAFA, you guys have a lot of summits and events and stuff. We're definitely not there yet. I definitely want to get our team to start planning, because we've talked about having like a winter and maybe even like a summer summit. But then again, like finances comes to play as well. So each are like, even though our own FSAs, we have our own finances from our school. Like my school, we only have a base funding of 200. Like realistically, what can you do with 200? So we kind of have to depend on mostly like just sales when it comes to our events. Like this, just on Friday we had like a Halloween event, and although it was like a house party, but still like we charged at the door and even on Eventbrite. So that's something that we use for now, but I know that there's other ways to go about it. I don't know if you guys have any like advice and stuff like that. But
Hello.
yeah.
At Northwest FASA, what we do for events is we have one school host it, and that school is the one who funds the event. So money isn't coming out from Northwest FASA bank account entirely. It only comes out if like we're asked upon from the school, but we make it an effort so that we kind of frame it in a way where it's like, if someone doesn't host this, we're not going to have this event. So it's kind of pressuring the orgs to really like talk to their officers and be like, okay, should we host this event or not? But this is a way for us to avoid bankruptcy. But the only con from this was that sometimes that school might fall to bankruptcy. So it's kind of like whoever has the most funds at the time can host it. And usually they do a pretty good job with like sponsorships or just reaching out to local, what's it called, like local businesses. Like for example, in Seattle, we have a lot of Filipino businesses. So our conference hosts always reach out to them and they always give out money. So just be aware of who's in your area and be aware of how much your schools have, because if they have a lot of money, just, you know, pressure them. I'm just kidding.
I'd like to add to that. So for SCPASA, we also struggle with finances. We don't pressure organizations to you know, host our events. We do ask them, and because our workshops / collaborations are free, the school itself or the organization is able to, like, you know, book rooms for free, and we're able to have our SCPASA event for free since it is a workshop. Usually our workshops are from like 11 a.m. to 3 or 4 p.m. And, you know, it doesn't really cost anything for us. But what we do is we usually ask the organization if we can do a fundraiser through them. So whether it be a boba sale or a, you know, a fast food, you know, whatever's in their area that they know can do a fundraiser, like, you know, like a certain percent proceeds to the organization, we would split with that organization, whether it be 50-50, 60-40, etc., to have some type of money that goes towards our annual summit. We don't have like a tier system where we charge organizations to be affiliated with us. For us, as long as you're in Southern California, you fall under SCPASA, and if you want to make it more official, we just have you like sign a paper. But other than that, we do struggle with maintaining like some type of funding. How we get our summit money is usually from sponsors that we've developed a relationship over the past 12 years. But it's still really hard because, you know, it's not the same contact person, and sometimes not even like our, you know, the person before us doesn't necessarily give us the information right away, and we end up having to start over again, which is like one of the struggles we've had before. But with sponsors, we've gotten like TFCU, if you've heard of them. We've gotten sometimes Seafood City, but they're kind of being like grateful right now in regards to like giving money to people. So we haven't really been in contact with them for the past 2 years. And then local businesses that help us, since there are a lot of Filipino businesses in Southern California, but, you know, not everyone is willing to, you know, sponsor us or help out. So that's a struggle as well. What else is there? But other than that, it's just, you know, all I can say is that we just do a lot of funding. Like we do a lot of saving, and whatever money isn't used for like our summit, like any rollover money, if there's any, we would contribute it to our next summit. But sometimes there's like not even money there. So it's just, you know, hardcore struggling to get money for a summit in February, and then asking as many people as we can for some type of sponsor, and then working with that fund and like creating something out of it. You know, I personally don't think we need all the money in the world to do an event, you know, but it'd be nice to have all the money in the world to have an event. But we work with what we have, and we look for people who are willing to volunteer their time and, you know, to have us use their space for free, or if anything, they would volunteer to have it for us. So that's what we do.
Yeah, the whole school thing, hosting events, I've mentioned that to my org like a few times already. We're starting to slowly do that, like unofficially. For example, like my school, York, we actually hosted TFCU last month. No, yes, September. So that was the very first big event that FILCASA slash York kind of hosted with the TFCU team. Um, I'm hoping that the other member schools in my org kind of get the idea. It's like it didn't matter whether I was like the president or not. It's like at least my school was um, willing to host the event compared to like we have other schools that do have other like their own venues like the theaters and stuff, which I've reached out to them. It's like, hey guys, I know you guys have your own theaters. It's probably cheaper than renting out external theaters. Like we've had like we hosted our Super Skills event in an actual comedy bar, and it costed like an arm and a leg. So after hosting TFCU Talks, which is only 1,400 Canadian, it was definitely something that we could look into as well. Like for our next Super Skills, I have contacted like our theater team again, but I'm hoping that because like one school hosted TFCU, that my other member schools would be okay with hosting like say our Super Skills at another campus, because yeah, it's way too expensive here.
Something that we've done, or not I've personally done, but what in order to host events at like a certain school, sometimes, you know, as an outside organization, you're seen as an outside org, getting a facility would be more expensive than the respective organization who's already there. When we had TFCU last year, it was at Cal State, it was at my school, Cal State Dominguez Hills, for the organization there, Pagsikapan, couldn't host it directly because they saw TFCU as an outside source. But what we did is our Asian Pacific Studies program actually sponsored it. So what they did would be like API presents TFCU alongside with like Pagsikapan or something like that. And we kind of utilize our resources on our campus to get these events, quote unquote, for free or not use money by us. That's like an option I can probably recommend to you guys, especially if you have an API on your campus, Asian Pacific Studies, or what program for Asian Pacific Islanders, is to really get in contact with those coordinators or those chairpersons for that that program itself, and see if you can have them provide the space for whether it be your event or workshop, because if they do support it, which they should, because you know you're part of that umbrella of Asian Pacific Islanders, you know, they could possibly get money from like their school account and contribute it to having the events at your guys' schools. So that's, you know, something you guys maybe should think about. It doesn't even need to be like the Asian Specific Studies program. It could be even if you have an ethnic studies program, and you know, just utilize every resource you have, because you know, whether it be your school, another school, someone else's school, there has to be someone who's willing to, you know, be down for you guys, be down for the event you want to have, you know, to really show, you know, you really want this event. You have to be passionate about having this, and also lay all your cards down on why you believe it's important for you and for the community, and how it can make a positive impact for your schools to have these events, not just for your community, but can bring other people from other schools to the campus, you know, creating like this, you know, larger audience. And, I personally think if the event goes really well and they see this, you know, positive impact, they'd want to have another one and another one. So yeah.
Oh, hi, Kevin here. So I first off, I want to say thanks, Camille, for your input. NCPASA, we're pretty new. It's our first year. I think something or an avenue that we haven't or hasn't been talked about yet is possibly asking for grants. So I'm not sure if everyone here heard about at UC Davis in Northern California, there was the first ever Filipino Policy Symposium. And that was actually funded through a grant that someone from Lead Filipino help write. And I feel like as a student organization, if you guys have 501c3 status, you're already part of the way there. There are like Asian American groups that give money to organizations to pay for events. I know that NAFA has they have connections too. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's an avenue that we could possibly learn about as individual organizations is how do we write grants so we don't have to keep asking our members for funds. The Policy Symposium was almost entirely funded by this grant, and I think it's just a good experience too as college students if we know how to do grant writing. That just makes the possibilities that much more possible. And I'm still learning about it myself, but I think that's possibly an avenue of how we can get funds without having to ask collegiate organizations for money, since it kind of depends on what region you're in. Maybe if like $100 is a lot for a small community college, might not be for San Jose State. We have like 1,000 members. That may be a drop in the bucket for them. But again, one of the goals that I have is to make sure that our regional orgs are kind of self-funding, but that's a pretty difficult thing to ask for. So anyways, but yeah, we should look into grant writing and seeing if you guys are nonprofits, that might be something that you already have access to because, you're already a 501c3, you're already credible. We trust you with money. For NCPASA, we're still working on getting 501c3 status. That's another thing that we'd have to work on. Oh, did someone want to go next?
I kind of want to address the org dues type of thing. So Northwest FASA, what we do is it'll be $1 per person in every org. So the money is not coming out from the person themselves, it's coming from the org. So for example, the University of Washington has like 100 plus people, so they'll pay like $100. But for orgs like Central Washington, they'll pay about $10. And for us, it's not a way to discourage or to like force money out of people. It's just as a fallback for us if we need it. It's coming out from the org, so it's not really affecting individual members itself. And that's kind of a way that we've summed up money, if that's something you're looking into. But it's something that's really helped us a lot in the past few years.
Yeah, if people don't have other like suggestions or ideas around funding, maybe we could talk about the question, since we're kind of like already on that issue of like how funding like affects our ability to organize and host events and things like that. The question after this one is, what are some of the issues that are facing Filipino Americans, especially those of collegiate age today? And then some of the examples, right, are mental health, class struggles, which we kind of started to speak about, talking about those taboo topics, and then, right, that balance between being too social or not enough cultural, political, and what are some of the things that you've done to address those issues?
Okay, so I really want to, I'll just start it off just because we recently talked, not recently, but we had a workshop a couple months ago in regards to mental health. So we did our, last year when I was programming director of SCPASA, my co and I, Chris Smith-Auer, we talked about mental health, especially during finals week, because that's like where it's most fit. So what we thought, or what we spoke about and discussed at our collaboration for mental health, we talked about how there's like this disconnect with traditional Filipino parents and as well as let's say us in regards to mental health and how we think about things. Not saying all, but I've had certain individuals say that, they believe that depression or suicidal is just a phase that we go through and that we will get over, but when in reality, it's an actual disease that affects us, it affects how we think. So, those are something we try to address with our young community, and how to break that to our traditional parents, whether it be talking to them or, finding, the right resources to understand how you can be able to overcome this disease of mental health, whether it be depression, suicide, etc. So that's what we spoke about on mental health. Dee, were you there by any chance at that workshop for mental health?
I was actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, I was actually going to comment about it.
Yes.
It was actually really good. I really liked it. Because we had us all stand in a line, and then they brought up some of these issues that a lot of us are actually facing. And when they said if you ever if you ever had troubles at home, or if there's any problems, please, step forward. And surprisingly, everyone was very engaged, and they went up, and it was really nice to see, because you're looking at people around you saying that, hey, I'm not the only one that has these problems, and you can really connect with them and get their input. And that's what I saw a lot about during the workshop. So I really liked it. It was really good.
What else about mental health? I'm trying to think. Oh, I just had something and it went away. So if anyone wants to add anything in regards to mental health and how you speak about it with your community or with your family, feel free to add.
Okay, so in regards to mental health, MAFA actually, we've done philanthropic work in the past, but we've never had an official philanthropy that we raise awareness about and raise money for throughout the year. So this year we actually chose NAMI, which is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and we've spoken about it at the summer leadership retreat, and we plan to speak about it in at FACT, our conference within a conference. Essentially, we're taking this idea and just centering around it for whatever we do. We just had a roundtable on the issue of suicide for Suicide Prevention Month, and I think the next roundtable we're going to talk about is colonial mentality, our Filipino American identity, and how it relates to that. So really just tying in those connections, because more often than not, there's a connection between these topics that not people are aware of. Let's see. In terms of tying it back to a traditional family or a traditional adult thing, adult organizations. I don't know. I went to Fonz and stuff for their national conference, and I also went to the EPICS Advisory Summit, and there is a lot in terms of developing a relationship between the older generations and us. I think mostly because after college, a lot of people drop their involvement, and so there's this gap that doesn't connect it, if that makes sense. A gap intergenerationally. Also, just the idea of respect and the Philippine value of hiya, which is shame, is so embedded in us. even for me, like someone who I thought was like super American, like I didn't know anything about Filipino culture, and yet oh, this is really personal, but like I struggle with mental health. So when I like spoke to my parents about it, it was like a lot of denial at first. And yeah, but like I kept on being really persistent about it and like creating like opportunities for me to like, so like this is how I perceive things. And like I actually used pretty recently Crazy Rich Asians. I like went to see it with my mom, and like afterwards like we like were able to like have a discussion around it, and like the discussion about like how different it is to be Asian and Asian American. Oh yeah. Oh, that's nice. Interesting. Yeah, my parents aren't nurses or doctors. So, oh, farewell. So yeah. Oh man, I don't know what I was saying. Oh yeah, we just had a conversation around it, and then I tied it into like what I was struggling with. And I mean, there are like a lot of baby steps to make when talking about mental health, but I think the important thing is that you keep on making them. That's just my personal experience. Anyone want to chime in?
I would love to chime in, but I have to go, guys. So it was great talking with you guys.
Bye.